Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Monday, May 11th, 2020. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. In the previous week, we began Monday morning with a pre-market report that talked about the failure to hold below the previous week's low and close. That box rejection suggested we would have 1 to 5 days of strength the rest of the week. And we've seen that play out over the last week, a very solid move. Now we're seeing the opposite play out right here. We're seeing a rejection of the previous week's high and the previous week's close, and now price is already through the previous session's midpoint and is pushing lower. At the moment, 2890 is going to be very, very important here. 2890, because if price starts to really push through 2890, you start to work your way back toward 2852. 2852 would be the previous week's midpoint. So right now, taking the previous week's high and close offered, and that occurring at around the 2930, 2933 zone, and then now we're below the previous session's midpoint, so we could be looking at a push down toward 2852, perhaps not all today, but that's where we could be headed here to begin the week. I would say one thing again, the market remains stealth bullish here, obviously just continues to push higher. This market, since the March lows, not pictured here, we've only had 2-day pullbacks, 1-day pullbacks, 1-day pullbacks, 2-day, 2-day, 1-day. So even if we do pull back right now, the market has seen a very bullish response that follows very quickly. And so if the price were to drop here into 2850, it would be well into the PIMA trigger zone below that 8-period average, and that could become a buying opportunity. But for today, at the moment, again, this market showing quite a bit of weakness, at least early on, pushing back below the previous month's close here again would suggest a bit more shakeout, so we'll see if bulls come in to defend there. But overall, starting the day with a bit of a weakness here. Keep an eye on 2890, because a rejection there could lead to a bounce and we could finish the day bullish. So again, this is going to be very important. 2885 in that zone as well, previous month's close. Okay, let's take a look here at the NQ. The NQ here, previous month's high in play, and we're sitting right on it at the moment, 91.45s. You can see here, previous week's high and close both rejected and price dropping. 92.22s, I believe, is the previous close here for the week for the NQ. You'll notice last week we talked about the rejection of the previous week's low and close, and that was likely going to trigger strength throughout the week. We saw that happen day over day. Now again, we're seeing a rejection of the previous week's high and close, and we are also on the precipice of getting a rejection of the previous month's high price. If we start to fail below 91.45, that would start to trigger perhaps a return back to this blue dot, maybe a drop down to this bottom pink line, which is the previous month's midpoint. This is the previous month's close. So two major key levels down below. In the current market, again, we've only seen 1 to 2-day pullbacks. We've had 1 3-day pullback here. So any pullback still likely to be bought until proven otherwise. So for today, keep an eye on 91.45s here. If price can't stay above 91.45, that could begin to push things down a bit more. All right, let's take a look now at crude oil. This is the July contract of crude oil. At the moment, July is compressing over the last few days. If you look at a 1-day, 5-day look back here, let's do that. Let's bring this up here. That's the PivotBoss Advanced ADR indicator. And right now you'll see not magenta here, but it is qualifying below 61.7 there. So 65% below that suggests compression. That we're for the most part we're right there. But today's not done here. We're starting to see strength here as this thing explodes to the upside a bit here on an intraday time frame, as it's just rallied from 25s to 26.50 very, very quickly. Again, right now This narrow range is very important because the previous rejection day here led to an absorption day, and if this starts to break to the upside, it's rejecting or breaking this rejection pattern, and that could trigger quite the squeeze higher. So this is going to be something to keep an eye on here as we continue to watch this play out. We're still kind of in the range. The 26 level, 26.09, 26 quarter, that zone, that's going to be the zone to watch here today. If it finishes strongly above 26 quarter, then we could be looking at a continuation higher toward 30. A failure to do so could lead to a continuation back to the previous close here, which was the idea last week on the rejection of this pivot range. We were looking for a push down toward the previous close and perhaps to new lows. So 26 quarter is going to be the key level to continue to watch here for crude oil. Okay, let's take a look lastly at gold futures. You'll see here gold futures continues to be in the range. Very, very narrow price action. If we take a look at a 10-day, so let's go back over the last 10 days. It's probably been a little bit longer than that. But if you look here, very, very compressed price action, 64% of ADR, and that's looking at just these 10 days. But you see it goes back even more. This one has been stuck in the mud. This is what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, that we've been in the range, and now we're inside the range, So here's the range, 1660 up to 1760, 1770, and now we're stuck inside a tiny range inside that range. So initially, we were looking at this type of price action, and now we're just down into here, which suggests that we are building energy for expansion to come. But until that time comes, we could be looking at further range-bound action until foreseeable future. So right now, at some point, we will see a break. I get, the overall trend to the upside remains intact. So even if we were to break to the downside, it could become a rejection that leads to a slingshot move higher. So keep that in mind. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the new week of trading. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you in the trading room. Take care.